The full How to Play It Today breakdown is linked in the description on theircheck.com. The more useful question with Donkey Kong 3 is not, is this historically interesting? It is. The real question is whether most players should start here now, and the answer is only if you know exactly what kind of oddity you are buying into. Donkey Kong 3 still makes sense today as a short, strange arcade curiosity. It is Nintendo history, but not in the obvious way. This is not the Donkey Kong most people picture. It is not a platform game about climbing girders, rescuing Pauline, or learning a clean obstacle course. It is a fixed screen, score-focused arcade action game where the appeal is quick pressure, simple rules, and surviving just a little longer. That can still work if you like early arcade games as concentrated systems. Donkey Kong 3 has a clear reason to exist. It is immediate. It is weird. It shows a branch of the Donkey Kong line that Nintendo did not really keep building in this form, but that also explains why it is not an easy recommendation. If you are casually retro curious and just want to understand why Donkey Kong matters, this is not the best first stop. If you want a platformer, it will feel like the wrong game wearing the right name. If you want a longer modern campaign, progression, or the broader charm people associate with later Donkey Kong games, this is probably a skip. So the verdict is selective. Donkey Kong 3 is worth a look for arcade history players, score chasers, and people who enjoy unusual detours in a famous series. For most players, it is more of a sample than a priority. Legally, the cleanest current way to play Donkey Kong 3 is Arcade Archive's Donkey Kong 3 on Nintendo Switch. That is the version I would point most people to if they specifically want this game. It is the arcade release in a modern digital wrapper, and the dossier confirms it as a current official Switch option. There is also the NES version through Nintendo Switch Online in the Nintendo Classics library. That matters because it changes the recommendation depending on your situation. If you already subscribe, the lowest friction move is to sample the NES version there first. You do not need to turn curiosity into a separate purchase, but if you are buying something specifically to play Donkey Kong 3, Arcade Archives is the better answer. The reason is simple. This game's value is tied to its arcade identity. It is a high score, fixed screen arcade game. So if you want to understand it on its own terms, start with the arcade version. Arcade Archives gives you the most direct current route to that without dragging the recommendation through old hardware, discontinued storefronts, or collector logic. The NES version is convenient. That is its job here. It is the I already have access, let me try it option. That does not make it the best representation of the game, and it does not make a subscription necessary if all you want is this one title. So the short version is, buy Arcade Archives if you actually want Donkey Kong 3, use Nintendo Switch Online if you are only curious and already have it. Before you start, reset your expectations hard. Do not approach Donkey Kong 3 like a platformer. The central adjustment is understanding the screen as a pressure management space, not a level to travel through. You are not moving through a world. You are dealing with threats, positioning, timing, and keeping control of a small arcade situation as it gets more aggressive. That is the main friction for modern players. Not setup, not a complicated route, not some mandatory patch. The barrier is conceptual. The name suggests one kind of game, while the actual design is something narrower, stranger, and more score-driven. The practical starting advice is this. Spend the first few minutes learning what the game wants from you before judging it by Donkey Kong expectations. Watch the patterns. Learn how your position affects what you can respond to. Treat failure as part of the loop. This is not a game trying to carry you forward with new scenes and rewards. It is asking whether you can get better inside a small, repeated arcade problem. That will either click quickly or it will not. And that is fine. Donkey Kong 3 does not need to be inflated into a must-play classic to be useful. Its best modern role is as a compact, legally accessible arcade oddity with a very specific audience. If that sounds appealing, play the Arcade Archives version. If you already have Nintendo Switch Online, sample the NES version first. If you want a welcoming Donkey Kong starting point, start somewhere else.